Hello friends, Dmitry Mikhailov here, also known as Izida. Today's video will be special because we're going to take a look at a jet-powered fighter for the first time, specifically the Meteor F Mark III. The early jet-powered aircraft have a somewhat different playstyle than their piston-engined cousins. So, we'll take a look at the optimal behavior pattern for the British fighter and judge our abilities against its main jet-powered opponents. Meteor F Mark III deliveries began in January 1945. Jet fighters were considered to be top-secret technology, and a number of limitations were placed on their operational use. For example, in order to prevent them from falling into enemy hands, they were strictly forbidden to cross the front line. In practice, all they were allowed to do was intercept German aircraft on the Allied home front. However, due to the Anglo-American aviation's complete air superiority, the Luftwaffe's activity in the air was low, and the Meteors did not participate in a single aviation battle. The Meteor F Mark III is the first jet aircraft available in the British tech tree. The aircraft's battle rating is 6.7, which means it can do battle not only against jet aircraft, but also against the piston-engined aircraft of other nations. Although that is a best-case scenario. We'll be taking a look at its main opponents, which are the Soviet MiG-9, the American F-80C Shooting Star, the Japanese Ki-200 and Kyunkai, and the German Mi-262 Schwalbe, and the Heimatschütze model with a liquid propellant boost engine. We won't see aircraft like the Mi-163 Comet, as they have a battle rating of 8. We will, however, encounter an unpleasant opponent in the form of the jet-powered Il-28 bomber. But we'll come to that a little later. First, we'll look at what is probably our most dangerous opponent, the F-80C Shooting Star. If you meet more than one of these airplanes in battle, there's a great strategy you can adopt. That's right, running away is a skill too. We draw our opponent into a group of Allied aircraft. The F-80 catches up to us in a straight line, so sooner or later we'll have to fight. In this case, I built up a speed of 800 kilometers an hour, and as soon as my opponent drew close enough, I performed a skewed loop. The F-80 broke a wing in its attempt to turn at high speed, which is lucky for us. But it's too early to relax. There are 2 more enemies nearby, not counting the bot, although it makes for such a tempting target that it's hard to resist shooting it down. But, as it turns out, Hellcats were made of titanium, so we'll take it out another time. In the meantime, our ally shoots down a second shooting star, which flew past us pretty spectacularly. Our last opponent decided that his chances were slim, and it was best not to test fate. So, he jumped out of his plane himself. Well done. Good decision. Now, let's perform a normal analysis of our opponent, the F-80C Shooting Star. To do this, we'll use the training ground and have a one-on-one battle without a frontal attack. After they diverged, both planes performed a skewed loop, meaning they flew upwards and tried to get into a firing position immediately. Our Meteor came a little closer to completing this task, but we weren't quite able to turn far enough. After the planes converged for a second time, the opponent went into a shallow dive to gain speed, which means that the vertical maneuver was more difficult for him than for us. Each combatant was at maximum thrust during the loop. To cut the corner, we lowered our thrust to half and turned all the way to the opponent perfectly. But we couldn't perform a proper attack. The subsequent situation again confirmed that we conserve speed more easily. When chasing the opponent in a vertical maneuver, we don't experience particular difficulties. Even our temporarily reduced thrust didn't allow the shooting star to gain a height advantage. In conclusion, we outperform the shooting star in horizontal and vertical maneuvers and conserve our energy more easily. But we lose when it comes to speed characteristics. In an ordinary battle, the Meteor will usually be lower down. The shooting star is an uncatchable target for us, so we have to wait for it to engage in a dogfight and lose some speed. If we get on the F-86, we can stay on it. We can also use counterattacks if the shooting star uses boom-zoom tactics against us. To do this, we have to perform a well-timed skewed loop upwards to put the opponent on the wrong foot. Then perform a half roll at the top of our loop and attempt to shoot him down, assuming he climbed. MiG-9. The MiG-9 has pretty dangerous weaponry, capable of ending a battle with one good hit. The MiG's speed allows it to catch up to the Meteor in a straight line, and the Meteor's climbing rate is also inferior. So, what advantages does the Meteor have here? Let's try a test duel in the training ground. After diverging, both opponents perform a skewed loop again to convert excess speed into height and open fire as soon as possible when they converge for a second time. It became clear very quickly that the Meteor significantly outperformed the MiG-9 in the maneuver. By all appearances, the MiG is inferior to the shooting star in this regard as well. At the same time, the duel doesn't show the full picture, but all in good time. In conclusion, the MiG-9 outperforms us in terms of speed, like the shooting star. Each of its engines has a thrust of only 800 kilograms per second, a little less than the Meteor F Mark III, but the MiG's weight at full load amounts to only 5 tons, 1.5 tons less than the Meteor. This is the reason for the MiG-9's good flight characteristics, in spite of its low-power engines. The MiG-9 has pretty dangerous weaponry, but the Meteor will be safe during sharp maneuvers. In principle, the strategy against MiGs is the same as against shooting stars, with the only difference being that shooting down the MiG-9 during counterattacks will be easier because of its lower turning time, which gives us more time to correct our course and aim. Japanese Ki-200. Strangely enough, we can destroy the Ki-200 in a maneuvering engagement, since at low speeds it turns towards its target poorly. In addition, Japan's version of the Comet lacks flaps. But none of this matters, since there is a very effective strategy against these enemies. The Ki-200's fuel supply lasts only 4 minutes. We can simply avoid an engagement until this time elapses. A far more dangerous opponent is the Japanese jet-powered Keun-Kai bomber. It poses a particular threat on the New Guinea map due to its immediate start in flight. Of course, our team will contain some Allied shooting stars or Sea Meteor F-3s capable of catching up to the Keun-Kai. But at the beginning of the battle, even they will be in danger due to their height disadvantage. Our role at this time is simple. We attack other available targets and ignore the Keun-Kai. If it targets us, we periodically perform a split, forcing our opponent to turn towards us and gradually lose speed and height. If we compare their maneuvering characteristics, the Meteor is superior here as well, though not so much as to be able to relax completely. The Keun-Kai is fully capable of turning towards us, and its powerful Type 5 cannons will quickly put a stop to your plans to take over the world. The German Me-262 Schwalbe and the Me-262 Heimatschütze, with a liquid propellant boost engine, will also make their presence known from time to time. Both models are capable of catching up to us in a straight line, as is the Japanese Kitsuka. But the initial acceleration dynamics of the Schwalbe, for example, are inferior to those of the Meteor. As a rule, the German Swallows try to attack only in passes. In a maneuvering engagement against the Meteor, their chances of success are low. The most important thing in this case is to maintain an optimal airspeed of no less than 480 kilometers per hour. At these speeds, the Meteor turns to its target perfectly and can escape attacks with relative ease. The Mark 108 cannons also complicate life for the German planes, as their shell flight ballistics can be challenging. The Heimatschützer model can use a booster, which allows it to perform an entire series of attacks against the Meteor using boom-zoom tactics. But when its booster is activated, the Heimatschützer becomes less maneuverable, which the Meteor can use to successfully evade its attacks. Lastly, I'd like to show you another dangerous bird, the Il-28, a rocket-powered bomber with front weaponry, good speed, and a monstrously dangerous turret in the tail section. If you fail to shoot it down in a pass, you're best off leaving the Il alone. Don't chase it, you'll live longer. Well, with that, we're pretty much done. Bear in mind that we fought on the standard Meteor F Mark III. The SEA Meteor model will be faster and generally more fun to fly. I hope I made everything clear and interesting. Please subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. Good luck in the air, and see you in the next broadcast.